everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bloggers Creating Courses. And this is quite an interesting one because this is the first episode where I'm actually recording the video as well. So the video is going to be going up to my YouTube channel, which I am curating, putting together. It's going to be an exciting little side project for the business, and we'll kind of see where that goes. But don't worry, the podcast in its, in itself, as it currently works, is still going to be coming out. So on that note, but yeah, if you want to see it on YouTube, feel free to jump across to YouTube. And I don't know, the video might be good. It might not be the best, but it's something that I'm trialing out and we will see how it goes. But it is just me for this episode. And what I wanted to talk about for this episode is about pivoting your business, pivoting and knowing when something is not working for you, or my new word is aligned. So is it aligned with you? Is it aligned with your goals? Is it aligned with where you want to go, your personality, all of that kind of stuff? So this is going to be a little bit more of a reflective episode, but I hope that there's something in it that you can take away from my journey and my reflections and apply to your business, in any projects that you're working on, kind of going forward. Because anyone who's been following me straight from the beginning there, but anyone who's been following me right from the beginning will know that the business has pivoted. And I've only been going at this for 10 months now, which is really exciting though. 10 months in, and I've got so many projects on the horizon. I'm loving it. I'm really excited for where that's going to go. But anyone who's been following me from the beginning will know that 10 months ago, this is not how my business looked. So 10 months ago, the business was set up to primarily work with people in the blogging niche who wanted to create online courses. Now, my background, as we know, is education and training in the healthcare sector, and has since developed into putting training online, creating online courses, working with people to create online courses. So that was very much what the business was set up to do. So I set up all the services, my website, which I was really proud of because I built all my websites. Well, I say all my websites, all versions of my website myself, which I'm very proud of. I love website building. I'm sure other people might look at it and think Verity, could do with tweaks here or whatever, but it's something that I've done that I'm proud of. But kind of regardless, I set up my first website and it was very, very corporate because I felt that that's how the business needed to look. I felt like I was working with people, giving advice, giving them coaching, mentoring services. And I felt like it had to have this quote unquote kind of professional look. So I went with all navy blues. I love dark colors, and I know I'm wearing green right now, but I love dark colors, blacks, navies, everything like that. So, but also navy we know is a very professional color. And I kind of felt like that's how I had to present my business. So there was a tiny bit of pink in it because that's just my personality. But there was just something that felt a bit off and a bit unaligned. As I said, unaligned is my new word, or even aligned is my new word, I should say. And so after a few months, and obviously I set up a podcast, I took on a couple of contracts for doing online course teaching and maintenance retainers and what have you, started the podcast, which was very aptly named Bloggers Creating Courses. But what I started to notice was that the conversations I was having with people were not just around online course creation, but actually around bigger business needs, because online courses don't just exist. Online courses sit within a business model somewhere along the line. Either your whole business model is centered around creating and selling online courses, or they are a separate part of your business and a separate part of your revenue to, well, increase your revenue essentially and bring in more profit, or whatever your business model looks like. So because the online courses were sitting as part of wider business strategies, what I found is that I was talking more and more to people about these wider business strategies rather than just teaching online. And what I really found was talking to women more and more about business setups and actually how do you go about creating your business? How do you gain visibility for your business? How do you set up processes and automations? And, how do you just get started generally? How do you really get clear and gain clarity on your business ideas? And I found I was having these conversations way more than I was having around the online courses. So it kind of got me thinking. And thankfully, I have an incredibly patient business coach. And on that note, people might find it a bit strange that, you know, I'm now doing business coaching and business mentoring, and I've got a business coach and mentor myself, but don't knock it until you've tried it. Business coaches, I think everyone should have a business coach. Obviously, I'm biased with what I do, but I know so many people with business coaches or business mentors. And if you're confused about the difference between business coaches and business mentors, make sure you check out our episode with Julie Luscombe, where we defined exactly the differences between those 2 points. But the biggest thing that I find, or the biggest benefit that I find of having a business coach, is being able to have conversations with them and kind of go, well, what does this look like to you? How does this idea sound? How can we action plan getting from A to B? And the reason I find that so beneficial is because I do work by myself. My team is me, myself, and I. Hopefully that'll be changing soon, but that's, you know, more news to come down the line. But it is just me, myself, and I, and kind of batting ideas off the cat, the dog, the baby doesn't always get the results that I want. And obviously by the time my husband gets home from work, we just all want to chill out and watch, you know, some episodes of something, or just chats about our days. You know, we don't really want to be getting into the nuances and the ins and outs of business or business ideas all the time. So on that note, I love having a business coach. And as I said, mine is incredibly patient with me, because I'm forever being like, hey, here's another idea that I've got, and what do we think about this? But one of the conversations that we kind of had, in fact, we had about 3 conversations about this, was how I just felt like there needed to be a bit of a pivot and a bit of a change, or a shift, I should say, not a change, but a shift, a pivot in the business. So what I ended up doing was going away. I did a lot of kind of reflection and just internal thought work with myself. I had different conversations with different business leaders and, you know, people at different stages in their business, particularly people who have got to a stage in their business where I want to go, because what that did was it really helped me see what was achievable in different sectors and different niches, to then really help me think, yeah, this is achievable for me as well. And, you know, I need to kind of plot my own path to get to where I want to go. Because I think that's really important. I think too often we think, oh, we're going to buy that course, we're going to follow this because that's how that person got there. But their situation and circumstances are completely different to yours. And I think sometimes, you know, we need to be really realistic as to how our own personal situations and circumstances affect how we get to somewhere, but also how soon we get to somewhere and how we achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve. So on that note, I kind of felt, you know, there needed to be some kind of realignment with my brand and what I was doing. So first thing I did was I went back to my very corporate looking website and I redid the whole thing. And it didn't stay. That version 2 did not stay. I'm now kind of on version 3 of my website, but it's because I needed something that just felt way more aligned with my personality, less corporate, more approachable to my target audience. And on the topic of target audiences, that was something else that I really, really worked on, because originally I was working with bloggers. That is a huge niche, and there's nothing wrong with having a huge niche. But for me personally, starting out, it felt unaligned. It didn't feel quite right. So I really, really honed down and targeted on working with particularly mums who want to set up their own business, mums who essentially want to escape that 9 to 5. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have conversations with anybody else. It just means that primarily I work business coaching, business mentoring for mums wanting to escape the 9 to 5. And I'm not saying how old your children need to be. I'm not even saying that you need to actually have children. You could be a dog mum, but it's somebody who has essentially got that other set of responsibilities that they are juggling when setting up their business. And, you know, they want to create more time freedom, financial freedom, whatever it is that they want to create to help them achieve their goal of getting away from that 9 to 5 and the, you know, the business that they love and the lifestyle that they love. So I really niched down on that group of individuals. And I looked at that pivot as well. And I was like, well, you know, people probably about at that point, about 85, 90% of the conversations I was having with people were around business topics, Gaining clarity on your business. Verity, how do you make your business visible in the way that you do? Can you show me how to do things on Instagram in the way that you're doing them? How do you set up the process for this? And all these kind of things. So I really nailed down on those 3 content pillars, and I won't take all the credit. I did work with people to do this, but, you know, I really nailed down on these content pillars of gaining clarity on your business plans and business ideas, gaining visibility for your business, and also setting up those premium processes and automations. And now these are the things that I concentrate on. These are the things that I mentor and coach other people on. And the great thing about that is that online courses actually fits into those content pillars, because you can use online courses as part of your business plan. So gaining clarity there. You can set up premium processes and automations as part of your online course process. And you can also gain visibility for your brand by having an online course or webinar, some kind of teaching. So actually the online courses has kind of taken a pivot in that it fits within my product suite. It fits within the conversation that I'm having, but it isn't the main conversation that I'm having. And if you go on my website now, speaking of, you know, the website, you'll notice that there's a lot of pink there. It's very aligned to me. It feels like my personality, even though I don't wear a lot of pink. I do like the color. But, you know, it just feels more aligned to my personality. And what I'm offering now feels way more aligned to both myself and to my business and what I want to do long term and what I'm happy doing as well, and what just feels right. And the reason that I'm telling you all of this is because I feel that sometimes in business, in anything in our life, in any project, we can almost get a little bit carried away sometimes in sense of, oh no, this is the project, I'm working on this, I have to keep going with this, I have to do this because I've started it. And, you know, it's a waste of time if I stop now. Actually, it's not a waste of time, because yes, for example, if you look at me, I might be starting again in terms of marketing and advertising for my product suite, this particular new product suite, but I'm not starting again for marketing myself. I've already had however many months of marketing myself and my business and my values and my mission and things like that. And, you know, I'm not starting again in the sense that I learned so much previously, which is only going to help me go forward, you know, with my new product suite. So if you're in a position where you're kind of thinking to yourself, something just doesn't feel right, this does not feel right for me, either it doesn't work for my brand, it doesn't work for me as a personality, it's not working for my audience, there is nothing wrong with pivoting. I know somebody recently who went through their product suite and they axed about probably half of their online courses that they provide. And on face value, you might be thinking, why on earth did you do that? But for them, in their brand, they were like, well, you know, I set up these courses however many years ago now. They worked perfectly well with the brand direction then, but for the brand direction and the development of their business that they've now got to, those courses aren't quite sitting with that individual's brand. So it makes perfect sense for them to, you know, realign their product suite. And there's nothing wrong with that. And as I said, I think sometimes in business, we get very, very bogged down with this is what I have to do because this is the path that I started on. But I think that's when you need to remember that your business is yours. You're the one that's got to show up 9 to 5, 8 till 12, Monday through Friday, Monday and Tuesday only, whatever it is that you work in your business, you're the one that's got to show up for your business. You've got to enjoy what you do. If you're not enjoying it, kind of got to ask what's the point, because, you know, you set up your business for a specific reason. And hopefully one of those reasons was because you enjoy offering the skill set that you've got, you enjoy doing what you do. So what I would say to anybody out there is I would challenge anybody listening to this episode today to really reflect on your brand, reflect on your mission, your vision, reflect on your business product suite as well, and just really think to yourself, is this aligned with what I want to do right this point in time? I'm not talking about when you set up the business. I'm not talking about a year ago. I'm talking about now, today. Is what you're offering, is what you're doing aligned with what you want to do and what you want to achieve? And is what you're doing aligned with where you want to go? And if you're kind of thinking, well, I'm not too sure about that, just remember, this is what bigger businesses do all of the time. Businesses, however big and small, are always changing, they're always pivoting, they're always adapting. I was watching something on the BBC recently. It was it was all about the downfall of Topshop. But what it was really highlighting is that the Topshop, when it closed, was not the same as the Topshop it had been 10 years previously. And it was not the same Topshop as when it was running in the 80s. That shop evolved to meet what was needed and what was happening in the world, the currency, the climate at that time. Same as like, if you think of ASOS, one of the biggest online clothing brands in the world. When ASOS was set up, little fun fact, ASOS actually stands for as seen on screen, because back in the early days, I remember when ASOS came out, and it was absolutely incredible because you could see somebody wearing something in a magazine. Say if you'd seen like Kate Moss wearing something, you could go on ASOS, you typed in Kate Moss, and it came up with all of these images of things that Kate Moss had worn and where you could get. And then they like literally created the clothing so that you could look like Kate Moss in that image. And it was amazing. Now, obviously, somewhere along the line, there was some kind of shift or pivot, because ASOS still sell clothing. They're still very inspired by what's on trend, by celebrities, by brands and what have you. But there was a pivot at some point along the way. And I obviously don't know the decision behind that, but there was a pivot. There was a shift somewhere along the line with ASOS where they moved from that model of, looking at what are celebrities wearing and how can we offer the same fashion, to now you wouldn't go on ASOS and type in Kate Moss or Beyonce or whatever. You would just go in and type in red check shirt or blue wash jeans or something. I don't know. You look for the clothing rather than the person that you saw wearing it. But they've done that because there was clearly some shift that they felt was needed. So that's an example of an incredibly big brand there. But my point is that never be afraid. If you think that something is not aligned, you can change it. There are few rules in business that you need to follow. If we get away from like all the legalities and those kind of rules, there are a few rules in business that realistically you need to follow. A lot of the rules I find are created either up here in your head, or they're created by what other people are telling you, and you feeling like you have to follow what they're doing or what they're saying. And a lot of the time, an awful lot of the time, I find that the advice that's given out is quite unsolicited and is given by people who don't actually run a business, or have got no idea what your business is about, or has never run a business in your niche, or more fundamentally, they're not you. So they don't know what your business is about or what you're doing and what your mission and vision and goals are and all those kind of things. So as I said, what I would love you to do to take away from this episode is just spend some time later today, later this week, get a pen and paper out, or just sit with yourself, depending on how you reflect, and just reflect on your business, on your product suite, on your branding, things like that. And just think, is this aligned to me now? Not when I set up, not last week, not however, a year ago. Is it aligned to me now, and aligned to where I want to be going, and aligned to my audience as well, or my target audience? So I hope this has been useful. Doing this work around an aligned business was really, really useful for me. So I hope that it can be useful for you. So I would love it if you do any reflections around aligning your business. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram at VeritySongon. I would love it if you could just drop me a DM, just telling me about your thoughts on this episode and about aligning your business and your product suite to where you are now, and whether or not what this episode's made you think about in terms of aligning your business to you and your goals and your future. I would absolutely love to hear what you think of that. So in the meantime, and that's an important note, actually, talking about alignment. I'm going to do a bonus episode of this, I think, later in the week or maybe next week, just to clarify this. But this podcast is going to have a little bit of a makeover. Don't worry, the actual podcast is staying. All of the back catalogue of episodes are staying. But we are going to be seeing a bit of a rebrand. And I don't mean rebrand as in I just play around with the colours on the little doohickey, what's it called? The image for the actual podcast. We're going to go have a rebrand as well, in that we're going to call it there's going to be a new name for the podcast, and that's purely to reflect the shift that the business is now taking. And it's also going to reflect a shift in the conversation that we're having on the podcast, because yes, we still are going to talk about online courses, because online courses is so topical, and like I said, it fits in so many people's product suites, as does teaching online, webinars and all the rest of it. But you've probably noticed yourself that the majority of the conversation that we have on this podcast is around bigger business ideas, bigger business goals, and generally more about moving yourself forward, establishing your business and getting your business to where it wants to go. So on that note, as I said, we are going to have a bit of a rebrand of the podcast, which I'm really, really excited about. So yeah, stay tuned. Like I said, I'm going to do either an episode or a bonus episode about those changes, which I'm really hoping you're going to love as much as I'm loving planning them as well. And on that note, I hope everyone has a fantastic week. It's been great hanging out with you again for this episode. I'm going to go get a cup of tea now and crack on with more rebranding and more reflecting on my product suite to really make sure it's aligned with me. So once again, and as ever, thank you very much for spending time with me. Take care.